Welcome one, welcome all to a special Christmas live edition of the NFC Beast Mixtape. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you access NFC East content at SB Nation. That is Blogging the Boys for Dallas Cowboys content, Bleeding Green Nation for Philadelphia Eagles, Hogs Haven for those Washington Commanders, or Big Blue View for the New York. Suddenly, once again, good at football Giants. You can also watch this on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel at your own convenience, or if you're with us live, it's because you're at the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, where you can also catch it on the rewatch, whatever the case may be. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog on the Boys. Brandon Elizabeth says in the comment section, "Wow, Brandon looks most handsome ever." Shout out to Lizzie.
E, RJ. She goes by E.
Wow. So E, well, I mean Lizzie. You know, that's
E.
That's an interesting derivation.
It is. I like it. It's unique. It's good. E. Just
would
E.
you ever go by B as opposed to Brandon?
Yeah. I mean, some people have called me that. Yeah, absolutely.
David Holden says, "Merry Christmas. Go Cowboys." Look at that.
Nice.
The more appropriate Holden, some would say, that is affiliated with the NFC East Mixtape. Peyton says, "First time seeing BLG. Looks like he makes his own IPAs. Hashtag Go Cowboys." Have you ever made your own brew?
No. I might shout out to my cousin Kev, who has done, I don't know if he's made an IPA specifically, but he's done some home brewing, but not like the biggest IPA guy, not an anti-IPA guy, but it's not my go-to.
Okay, so we are live. Obviously, the Cowboys and Eagles playing on Saturday afternoon, Christmas Eve. We did this ahead of the previous Cowboys-Eagles matchup. This one lacking in some juice. We do put these episodes on all four.
I don't agree with that.
Well, you know, that's because you love the Cowboys more than you do the Eagles, which you admitted to our friends from the Birds versus Boys podcast. Everybody should go check out.
You are more obsessed with what I said than like the sentiment of actually what I said. You're like,
do you think that we should let people hear what you said? I mean, like, so that it's
you can.
I mean, do you feel like that would be fair?
Technology thing we have here.
I'm working on it. I mean, because I think that, like, everybody has to hear what you said. So you and I podcast together a lot as we kind of set the conversation here for Cowboys and Eagles. We've already done an NFC East mixtape this week. Tomorrow on Friday, we will do a new episode of The Look Ahead with our good friend Rob Stats Carrera, where we will preview every single NFL game this coming week. We'll also react to the game that started just behind us, the Jaguars visiting the New York Jets. Zach Wilson taking over, so get ready for some fireworks. But earlier this week, we were guests. We've never been guests together, but it happened this week, like I said, on the Birds versus Boys podcast. And this is what you had to say to our good friends, Kevin and Aiden. Just going to play the clip.
Exciting to watch the Cowboys lose than it is the Eagles win sometimes.
Oh my
God. Very handsome. It's true.
The obsession that Eagles fans have.
You guys are obsessed with the obsession thing. It's not
Kevin,
an
can
obsession.
you put that in
you love that people are obsessed with you.
I know. Why do you love it? It's a rivalry.
You love being obsessed with
It's a rivalry. It's what makes football fun. How is that like lame? It's like you guys are so lame.
That energy is one way. Like, it's a rivalry. I have no qualms admitting that. But like this, I would never in my life be more excited about an Eagles loss than a Cowboys win. So you said that sometimes you are more excited about a Cowboys loss than an Eagles win. You really feel that way?
So there's multiple things here. Not my usual multiple things can be true. Just multiple things in general. First of all, that Eagles-Bears game was not very exciting. I said that. Like, it was not like a very exciting game. It wasn't. I think anyone who watched that would say that. It was kind of an ugly game. Second of all, the rent-free thing is just the lamest. Like, it doesn't.
You admitted, like, the reason we say rent-free is because of that kind of statement. Like,
but that doesn't, like, I don't want. You're obsessed with it because then you like clip it and you put it on your Instagram and you have to show it to everyone. And then you
I didn't clip it.
And like, you're like, I'm the one who is being guilty of having my head being lived in rent-free after you're posting what I said everywhere.
I pay a lot of attention to the Philadelphia Eagles. I pay a lot of attention to the New York Giants, to the Washington Commanders, to the Green Bay Packers, the San Francisco 49ers. In no universe would a loss from any of those teams bring me more joy or excitement than a Cowboys win. None. So I don't sign up for that. Kel says rent-free is true, though. By the way, Doug Gowton says Merry Christmas, RJ. A Merry Christmas to the Gowton family.
Where's my Merry Christmas, Dad? Thanks.
I love the Gowtons. I love all of them. Every single one who has ever come and ever will come in the future. The Gowtons are good people. We call this username, Brandon, because this is a family show. Around, at least at BTB, we're a family show. I know BGN can get a little bit more rough around the edges.
I don't really think that's true. That's not fair.
We call this username Moda. Just to be, cool. Says the Cowboys will.
Why is it called Moda?
The Cowboys will always live rent free in Eagles fans' heads. By the way,
they could change it to a little more planetary money out of what was it again? Money out the Uranus.
Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah, like the
by the
planet.
way, Mike Hernandez says, boy, I sure could go for some meat snacks.
Wow.
RighteousFelon.com. Use
Discount code
discount
BGM
code
20 for
BPB15.
20% off.
Yeah. Whatever. Your dad says, I will see you in person. BLG.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay.
That sounds like a threat.
Nathan says, Brandon,
If you're a
not...
Cowboys fan, get it at Righteous Felon. Use use your own team's discount code.
Right, RighteousFelon.com. Seriously, the best beef jerky in the world. If you're an Eagles fan, use discount code BGN20. Right, and if you're a Cowboys fan, BTB15.
Yeah,
even if you're a Cowboys fan,
yeah.
If you're a Cowboys fan, use BGN20. All right, save yourself 5% more. You know
what
I mean?
If you want to, but again, to me, it's about you're not just supporting. It's not just about you getting the savings. It's helping support your favorite podcast. It's helping support a local business, at least here. It's a small business,
right?
It's at the very least, if not a local business for people in Texas. So everyone wins. I feel like when you buy from Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, and it's really good.
It is. So we have this Cowboys-Eagles game to get to. David Holden says, remember the I think he meant beat Dallas shirts last year. On the subject, I do want to shout out my shirt. I don't know if you've paid attention to it yet, Brandon. It says Dallas forever, Philly for never.
How is this not a rent-free thing?
If you don't know, I imagine you don't know, which means you're not a loyal BTB listener, so shame on you. Kelsey Charles, Meg Murray, the co-host on Girls Talking Boys, which everybody can hear tomorrow, Friday, on the Blog on the Boys podcast network. This is their saying. They came up with these shirts a few months ago. The proceeds from this benefit mental health. NAMI, the foundation, it is totally worth it. If you're a Cowboys fan, it's part of the rivalry. It's their catchphrase. They end every episode by saying it. So go to Kelsey Charles's Twitter profile. She has the link to purchase them in her bio. They're going to do one more round, but I did check with Kelsey ahead of time. She asked me to let everybody know, if you're going to buy one, just to please understand they fill these orders themselves, Kelsey and Meg. So it does take a little bit of time. So don't get a little bit antsy if they don't come in right away. So
what if you're a Cowboys fan who wants to just donate to this organization? What is it again?
NAMI, the national, I think the national administration, I don't know what the acronym stands for. National Alliance on Mental Illness is the full acronym. So you can head to NAMI.org, NAMI.org. And again, if you're a Cowboys fan, you want one of these t-shirts that I'm wearing right now. If you're listening to the podcast, you obviously can't see it, but it's got a star. It says Dallas forever, Philly for never, 2 Texas state logos bordering the sides. Cool. Cool shirt. You know what I'm saying? Arwin the Fox says, just popping in to say, I look forward to the NFC East Mixtape every Wednesday, and that you two are the best. Love the banter, analysis, and honesty, with an old school smiley face, semicolon, open parenthesis.
I love the dog in her picture too. I mean, that's great. That's a great dog. You got
good looking pup. All right, we have to get to Cowboys-Eagles, but it is Christmas, or at least not yet. It's going to be Christmas. You're wearing a Santa hat. So I wanted to ask you, what is a Christmas thing that you don't identify with? You very famously don't like Thanksgiving food. So what is, like, maybe you don't like Christmas music. Maybe there's a certain Christmas movie you don't get. Maybe, like, you're not a candy cane person. Like, everybody talks about their favorite this. I want to go other direction. What is a Christmas thing?
So you're being a real Grinch right at the start. Huh? Unlike Thanksgiving, I am all in on Christmas. Love Christmas. It's not just about the gifts for me. Honestly, my family and we're not like the biggest gift giving family to each other. I don't think it has to be about the gifts. I just want to make it clear it's not just about that. I mean, we get each other some things, but it's not like just all about the gifts. And if it is for some people, then good. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm just saying I don't think it has to be about that. But I'm into it all. I want the music. I want the food. One thing I don't like, I guess, if you're making me answer this question, is the song Dominic the Donkey. It's just not a good Christmas song.
That's your answer, this incredibly niche thing.
It's annoying. You've never heard that song?
I mean, yeah, but like...
It's annoying.
Okay.
I don't like it.
So we were going to do a happy hour of sorts, but it just kind of didn't wind up working. And a big reason was I had to eat right
because
before...
you're here, so you can't be too happy.
I had to eat right before this, like just kind of the way my day went. And my wife was kind enough... she picked up canes for me. This is not an ad. Righteous Felon would definitely given you an ad, but this is not an ad. She got me canes, and I saw this. Canes. Yeah, Raising Canes. I thought
for the people who don't know.
I thought, I saw this last time we went, which wasn't that long ago. I don't know if you've been to a Raising Canes lately. It's like
I've ever been.
Well, it's all right now. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That's like that. I don't know how. Like that's like their theme. Like you in the drive-through, like there's all sorts of like signage and paraphernalia for Christmas, like the Chevy Chase, like arms out, electrocuted or what. I've never seen the movie. That's my thing. I've never seen that movie, and I don't know if I should.
Like
in the next
any of it, not even like clips of it, or
No,
like
I don't
sometimes you
even.
turn on the TV and it's on, but you're not really like watching the movie.
I don't think I could even tell you like it's the Griswolds, right? Like that's kind of like the extent of knowledge I have on this. Like I couldn't tell you like, oh, doesn't it have like that scene? Like I really couldn't.
Do you know which NFL team the hat he wears?
I'm gonna guess it's some New York team.
No,
Is it?
it's closer to you than you think. It's not a Cowboys though.
Is
Not
it
a
the
Cowboys
Saints?
hat. No, think about someone in your household.
It's a Bears hat. I could see that. Yeah. Okay.
My
Wow.
cousin Kenny, shout out to Kenny, older brother of cousin Kev, who wears that Bears hat. He's not like a big football guy, not like a big sports guy. Like would casually say he likes the Eagles, but doesn't really follow along too closely. But it's funny because he wears that hat around because he likes
the same
the hat.
one.
Yeah, from the movie.
I got
and
you.
then like all these people like when he'll go around just like start talking to him about the Bears, and he's like, "Yeah, man, cool." Like he has no idea.
Okay, so David Holden says Christmas Vacation is a must-watch. RJ, maybe I will. As we start to veer into Cowboys-Eagles, Money Maker 09 asks eggnog or hot chocolate. I will take hot chocolate.
Two different things. Like I don't know.
Well, if you had to pick one, that's the question.
I like an eggnog.
That's great.
Not all year round, but like if we're doing Christmas specialty drink, I'm gonna go an eggnog.
Brian, thank you for the super chat. Everybody can follow Brian on TikTok at Talk Cowboys. I don't know if you saw this, Brandon. Obviously, it's busy time and maybe you were out Christmas shopping. Sam Williams, Dallas Cowboys second round pick, rookie pass rusher, has been really, really great for the team this year. Was in a car accident on Thursday. It appears he's fine. He tweeted that he was fine and the other person involved was fine, thankfully. The Cowboys have said that they're going to monitor his situation with regards to obviously Saturday's game. On the subject of the injury report, Jalen Hurts officially ruled out. There had obviously been the I don't know, maybe he really wants to play. He's one tough dude. I mean, as far as the Sam Williams thing is concerned, the fact that he's okay is obviously the most important thing, and the person involved. The Cowboys are not in the luxurious position that the Eagles are in, but they are in a spot where if they want to rest Sam Williams, they certainly have the flexibility to do that. It's hard to see, obviously, how that's going to go without knowing the full depth of his injuries, if he has any. But obviously, if you want to be smart, you rest him. So we'll see how that goes. But Nathan says hate injuries regardless of team. Brandon, the Jalen Hurts news broke a day before we recorded the normal episode of the mixtape this week, and he has been ruled out. So has this been a weird week? Has this been like the most tense or awkward or weird week of the season in any way, shape, or form with the Jalen Hurts news?
No, I wouldn't say so. The short week has made it kind of a weird week too, being the game being on Saturday. But no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I was under the impression as soon as the news came out on Monday evening that Jalen Hurts was not going to play at the very, very least this week. I tuned into sports radio this week and the conversation on there was pretty wild. And I was like, man, am I out of touch? Because everyone on there was like, oh, he's definitely going to play or he should play. And
he really wants to. He's a warrior.
No, it wasn't even like that. It was more like he better play. Like he's a wuss if he doesn't play. I'm like, what the heck are we talking about?
This is Philly sports radio that's calling him a wuss if he doesn't play.
I mean, not like everyone, it's not a monolith. It's not every call, but there was more of that sentiment than I thought. And maybe it wasn't just he was a wuss, but it was like he has to play. Like, no, he doesn't. Why does he have to play? You just have 3 games to get 1 win. And I just feel like you traded for Gardner Minshew. Like you invested a resource in him and you brought him in for a reason. It's not to just never use him. And he played well when he played last year. He went 20-25 for 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the Jets. But it's a good backup. You don't just force Jalen Hurts, especially when you have bigger goals, you have bigger fish to fry than winning this week, and you let him get some rest. Like I don't even know. It was a no-brainer to me.
I agree. I think it's stupid to call him a wuss, or whatever, sort of intimation is made for him not playing. By the way, there was a question in the chat. Moda asked who is out for Dallas or has that been established? The only player they've ruled out is Leighton Vander Esch, but kind of like you're saying with Hurts, it was pretty well known on Monday.
It just didn't practice.
That Leighton wasn't going to play in this game. Thankfully, though, he should be available for the playoffs. I do think Nick Sirianni laid it on a little bit thick in the classic Nick Sirianni way. Like, oh, man, he's the toughest dude I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone tougher than Jalen Hurts. I mean, Nick Sirianni makes this a little bit harder for me, but whatever.
Well, there's a reason he's doing that, and I think it's because he knows Jalen really wants to play, and it's probably kind of hard to talk him out of playing because they have to do that, and they have to protect him against himself. So I think that's part of the concession there is being like, Jalen did everything he could. He's super tough. Like they don't want to Oh my gosh, $50 super chat. RJ.
Well, let's get to it. Arwen the Fox, who's
Where's
profile
my money
picture-
for the super chat? Everyone Venmo me.
You
Where's
shouted out.
Where's the on-screen display thing? I'm gonna put my
Thank
Venmo.
you to
on there.
Arwen the Fox for the super chat. We'll work it out with the SB Nation Vox Media overlords. Michael Kist will get you your half. Don't worry, Brandon. Says Merry Christmas and Happy almost New Year to you both. Thank you so much for brightening and bringing happiness to our lives all year round with the amaze content. P.S. Arwen says thanks. She's a half husky, half German Shep. Oh my gosh, this is like the ultimate. You always worry about getting doxxed on the internet. Yet here you are showing off your actual Venmo.
It's just a code. It's fine. I mean,
please,
there's no way
nobody
people
do
even
that.
got that.
Nobody do that. Brandon won the lotto last week. He doesn't need your Venmo. But anyway,
I did not win the lottery.
Like.
You don't have to pay me anything.
We have to get back to the game, but actually, I'm gonna get this comment back up here. It's tough because it's so large. Again, thank you, Arwen the Fox. This has been the really fun year on the mixtape. I mean, it really has been, especially with the way the Cowboys and Eagles are playing. That they're meeting on Christmas Eve. Like, you love to talk about vibes. The vibes for this show all-time high. Like, it has been such a great season here. The listeners are great. The viewers are great. Everybody associated with the mixtape. The mixologists have been wonderful.
So Arwen is the dog. Okay, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
The Fox, actually. The Fox.
Oh, it's a dog, right?
I know, but the username is Arwen the Fox. So I'm under the impression here that the user whose name we actually don't know here, since the username is Arwen the Fox, the user refers to Arwen as a fox. That's how I'm understanding this.
But this comment by Kel Benjamin up. I think that's a good one.
BLG is a funny guy.
There we go.
Casey Hammond says Sirianni is the perfect combo of the theater kid and jock from high school. Unbearable to be around. Cringy McCringerson. I do think if Nick Sirianni had been anybody else, any other NFL coach, I do think on other things we do together, you would have roasted him for the behavior after the win against the Colts.
No.
Okay. Your dad wants to know if you're getting him.
Don't worry about it, Dad.
So, Arwen the Fox, let us know that I'm correct. So, this user whose name I guess is mystery.
Wow.
Does refer to Arwen as a fox. Nathan says the mixologist. You hated on that name forever. It has stuck. They are the mixologist. The long-standing Ricky Bobby. I mean,
Rich Bobby.
I know, but I can't not do Ricky Bobby. I know, but
if he wanted to be called that, it'd be
Rich. You understand why I have to go through that at first. But says
Rich is a great guy, super loyal listener. Also a big Righteous Soundcraft Jerky proponent. Like he'll just be promoting it. They're not sponsoring Rich, but they sponsor the pod, and Rich really helps us push that out there because he knows it's good because he gets it and he likes it. So
Patrick Saring says the mixtape has made life so much better. I download it and listen to it with my coworkers every week. Patrick, I don't know if you know this, Brandon, is an Eagles fan, but checks out a lot of our live streams here at Blog of the Boys, and that's what the mixtape has done. Is it has provided this like connective tissue. Look, you acknowledge.
I wouldn't say I check out a lot of your live streams.
No, Patrick does. Not you.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Patrick does. So, but you acknowledge to our friends Aiden and Kevin that you care more about Cowboys results than you do Eagles results. And so
now you're doing a bit, but that's not what I said.
What the mixtape has done is provided this connective tissue for something we don't want to admit, right? Nobody wants to admit, I'm checking out what the Eagles are doing. I'm checking out what the Cowboys are doing.
Why can't you admit that? It's so
I
dumb.
will admit that. But I will never, ever, ever say, because it's not true, that I care more about an Eagles result or that it brings me more joy than a Cowboys result. No, that is not true. Let's see here. Moda says, I will credit BLG with the Christmas swag on, but that's all the credit I'll give him. Holden says, David Holden, Sirianni and Jalen literally only know how to get blown out in the playoffs and versus Dak. Interesting.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Sorry. I thought those are two separate things he's saying.
Right. How to get blown out in the playoffs.
I mean, come on.
And versus Dak.
You can't say last year. I mean, if
Why
it
not?
happens again, then I will agree with that. I mean, I'm not saying you can say like last year's Eagles team is comparable to this year. It's just not.
So I want to get to
it's not similar
to Brian's comment, but before we do, I want to get to these so they don't fly away. Mike says the NFC East connected universe has such interesting lore. I don't know if you know this, Mike. We started calling this the NFC Beast because all of the teams are really good.
And the NFC least as well.
Right. Yeah. But like that's ours. Trademark, baby. That we did that. Arwin the Fox lets us know. Sorry, messages are so long. I've also written novels for y'all via Apple Podcasts. Wow. Yeah, review BGN and BTB on Apple Podcasts, please. And try to keep them short, but U2 and Stats are the best. So it was hard to keep it short. Wow. RJ is the best, Avi. Thank you. Arwin the Fox. Rich notes that Righteous Felon is the real deal. Thanks for doing this, guys. Looking forward to a Gardner-led game in Big D on Saturday. Happiness and health to everyone. Casey says BLG awakes from a coma. His first question: did the Cowboys lose?
I hope so.
Okay, so I want to get to Brian's question. It says, I wonder if BLG thinks a hurt quarterback is a weakness to his offense. Cowboys fans, I think, are very interested in your opinion on this, because I think it's fair from everyone to wonder whether Jalen will be 100% whenever he does return, if he'll be 100% in the playoffs. Like, do you think this week has in any way lowered the ceiling on this Eagles season? Not to say they can't win the Super Bowl, not to say that the lowering is even more than 0.01%, but is the lowering a non-zero quantity?
I don't think of it that way. I would say the concern level might be a little bit higher, but I think the ceiling is still much there. And when I say higher, not much, maybe like point whatever to what you just said there, but no, not really. I mean, because, and not just because I feel like delusion, but because I've seen multiple orthopedic things quoted as like a shoulder sprain takes about like 2 weeks, typically 14 days. So, if the Eagles can win the number 1 seed against the Cowboys and then Hurts gets the rest, then I think he's going to be pretty okay. I'm going to say I have a higher concern level than I did if he didn't have the injury at all, but I'm not like super, it's not a significant raise in concern.
Nate offered some kindness for you and I, Brandon, and said shout out to Jimmy Kemsky and to Stats as well. So a very clear BGN radio listener.
Yeah, we meant to have Jimmy on the mixtape, but it didn't.
I know.
Work out.
It will happen eventually. It was just when we were going to do it, we just couldn't after all. But Patrick says Gardner's vibes have been great this week. Patrick's been listening to you.
That is true. I mean, like the Mike Leach thing is kind of like it's very emotional, and it's directly. I want to make clear here too, if I didn't already on the mixtape, like Mike Leach is why Gardner Minshew was in the NFL. Like he believed in him when like no one else really did. Like Gardner Minshew would not have been drafted in the 6th round where he was and gotten the chance, especially as someone with his profile, like a small dude, kind of a quirky guy. So like I just think that there is some meaning to that. Does it mean the Eagles are going to win just because of that? No. But is it irrelevant? I don't think it's irrelevant.
So just to be clear, because you didn't mention it right there, you've talked about, at least on the mixtape this week, Gardner was at Mike Leach's funeral services this week, and obviously played for Leach and knows Leach and knew Leach, and Mike Leach was a big person, a big factor, a big influence in Gardner Minshew's football life. So you've talked about how you think I don't want to call it vibes associated with that, but the energy around it, that Gardner has been somewhat inspired to kind of play for Mike Leach, playing with some some more emotions and kind of any player normally is in the NFL. It's your point. I don't want to butcher your point.
I think there's truth to it. I mean, Gardner was making it a point to not speak at all this year because he wanted to respect Hurts, and he just didn't even want to put himself in the spotlight at all. He only spoke last week prior to the Hurts injury because of the Leach thing, and he was willing to talk about that, obviously, because it was such a relevant topic. So yeah, that did come out, and there's other reasons why as well. It's not just that; it's also that this could be the difference between him like having a chance to start somewhere next year, or starting outright, if not at least a competition, and not like this performance right here. This could be his one chance to really get a chance to do that.
I refer to this, like what you're talking about, as like his Colt McCoy game. I don't know if you remember in 2014, Dallas hosted Washington on Monday Night Football, and Colt McCoy beat them.
Where Jay Gruden awkwardly hugged Colt McCoy after the game.
Right. And I like at the time, I remember like saying to anybody who would listen, like Colt McCoy is going to be a backup in the NFL for like 10 years because of this, right? Like, and you kind of see that. And Gardner's been around for a long time, so it's not like he's like new to the NFL. But you could see him like, cashing in on this performance if it went that way for a very long time. Like Cooper Rush had that kind of month earlier this year. Mike White has kind of had that. Like we've kind of seen different players.
Trubisky last year, like he's gonna get that glow up because it'll be, oh wow, Gardner Minshew helped the Eagles clinch the number 1 seed. Like that would be a big deal.
Casey has a question for you, Brandon. Says this weekend's game is a toss-up. Really is. Genuine question here for BLG. If the Birds lose Saturday, do you think they might rush Hurts back a week early and risk worsening the injury? For full context, the Eagles have 2 home games remaining after this week's game in Dallas. The first one next Sunday against the New Orleans Saints, whose first-round pick they do own in 2023.
I mean, I think there's a lot of it depends on if Hurts' shoulder is like really still hurting and it's really painful, or if he's feeling good. It depends if if the Eagles score 0 points, then they're probably yes, he's going to play. But yeah, I think he will play, yes, to answer the question. But it really depends on like how the Eagles would lose and where Hurts' health is at.
I mentioned this to you in the mixtape earlier this week. I would be fascinated to see. I think the Cowboys are winning. That's my official prediction. I don't know exactly how I think that's going to happen.
You locked it in. It's your lock of the week.
Yeah, it is.
And you think they're going to cover too.
Way to spoil the look ahead, Brandon. Good job there. I mean,
we already said it on the mixtape.
I didn't say it on the mixtape. I said it in our Slack channel.
Well,
so,
I said it. I said mine.
Right. Brandon and we do locks of the week every week on the look ahead on the SB Nation NFL show. Nobody has ever locked against one another. So we are doing that this week. Brandon taking the Eagles, and we got it at 4.5. That was the time we locked it. So you're taking the Eagles at 4.5. Getting 4.5.
It's a bummer because I went up to 6. I want the 6, but I'll take the 4.5.
Anyway, so I'm laying 4.5 and taking the Cowboys, so I think Dallas wins. I think we both think that Dallas is going to win a week from this moment, right when they visit the Tennessee Titans, and it looks like it's going to be Malik Willis. Looks like Ryan Tannehill's season is over, unless Tennessee makes the playoffs, makes a deep run or whatever, which feels unlikely at this point, especially with the way the Jaguars are surging because they slayed the mighty Cowboys. It's tied 3-3.
Okay. My TV's over there, by the way, people. So that's why I'm looking over there.
The podcast audience has no idea where you just pointed. But anyway, it would be fascinating if the Cowboys did win these next 2 games and then the Eagles lost to the Saints. That chaos, you talked about sports radio. The sports radio following what would then be an Eagles loss next Sunday to the Saints would be wild. It would be incredibly chaotic.
It would be chaotic. Someone asked for the button. That's why I did that. Anyway, I think the Eagles are going to win this week, so I'm not really looking ahead to next week. But by the way, it's kind of a disappointment that the show isn't actually called The Look Ahead. I mean, you and I call it that because there should have a name. That's a whole different topic.
Okay, keep it to Cowboys-Eagles, Brandon.
It's very disappointing. It hurts me. But what's your question again?
Just, I guess, what would it take to rush Jalen back? Would it take? You kind of described it, but like, would it take 2 losses? Would it take the offense looking completely flat? Like, what would be the like smash glass in case of emergency button? Because he is the button.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for anything to be like too concerning, even just because I look back at the 2017 Eagles, and I thought Foles, like, he sucked, man. He looked not good at all at the end of that regular season there. Like, they played the Raiders, and he looked terrible.
Was that like a Monday night game?
It was on Christmas, Christmas night, the night, not Christmas Eve, but like the night of Christmas, and he looked terrible. He looked terrible when they played him against the Cowboys, which I think they wanted to do in the finale, because they wanted to get him like, okay, let's get him a drive. He'll look good, and then we'll build his confidence. And then no, it looked really bad. And so, like, I can't say that anything that happens is going to have me at like a panic level of 10 just because of that, and the time off will be helpful and everything. But yeah, I mean, if the Eagles lose their next 2 games, then that forces them to must win in week 18 against the Giants team that, is certainly probably playing to make sure they get their playoff spot. So yeah, I'd be fairly concerned at that point. Although, depending how it goes, it's possible they would be getting Hurts back healthy at that point. So I'd feel good about that.
So you can ask me and some of we obviously have a lot of Cowboys fans in the chat right now, so you can ask all of us some questions if you'd like. But hypothetical for you, and I'm obviously looking at like pro Cowboys hypothetical, so anti-Eagles ones. Say the Eagles did lose these next 2 games, but Hurts was not 100%. Call that what you want, 95, 90, 85, whatever. Would you rather play him that week 18 game against the Giants? And we don't know it's hard to forecast. I don't think like the Giants will need that to get in that week 18 game, but whatever. Would you rather play him and risk further damage, or say, you know what, let's just rest him, even if that means costing ourselves the 1 seed?
No, zero chance.
So like you wouldn't rather guarantee a healthier Jalen even as the 2 seed for the wild card round?
Not with the injury he has. No, especially no. I think no, it's a mess. It's significant. Like, getting that bye week is and then having home field advantage in the playoffs versus playing on the road. That's a huge deal. And also, again, you have Gardner Minshew for a reason. Like you have to if Gardner Minshew like can't go out here and get them at least one win in theory, if he has to play one of the three, then that's a failure.
He's got to play two. If he played all 3 games, he's got to play 2 playoff teams and a team vying.
He should be able to get you one win at the very least if he has to play all
I agree with
3. But if Hurts has to play to make sure you get the 1 seed, then absolutely you play him.
Michael, by the way, clearly listens, says, I hope next year the NFL schedules the Eagles and Cowboys earlier in the year. I want to see these teams play each other at full health. I agree. So Nathan says, if the Cowboys lose, what else has to happen to lock them into the 5 seed? Obviously, the Eagles get the 1st seed. So Dallas is well, yeah. So, but if Dallas loses, if they win on Thursday night, and if we go in chronological order, if the Giants lose this week to the Vikings and say Dallas, and they play before the Cowboys and the Eagles, say the Giants lose, and then the Cowboys lose. If the Cowboys beat the Titans next Thursday night, boom, 5 seed locked in. You just have to pick up a combination for the Cowboys you have to get 2 things, whether 2 Cowboys wins, 2 Giants losses, or 1 of each. So that's what you have to get in order to secure the 5 seed. Kel says BLG sounds very confident in Gardner. 1 to 10.
It's not even just about him. I'm gonna say solid 7.7. It's not just about him, it's about the system too. And it's about, but really, I think the biggest mismatch in this game works in the Eagles' favor. I mean,
you've said this 100 places.
AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, whoever is covering them on the Cowboys that is not Trayvon Diggs, that's a big mismatch. Those players are really, really good. And Gardner has them to work with. Oh, and by the way, Dallas Goedert's coming back. I think Gardner Minshew has more than enough help. Oh, and the Eagles offensive line has it's like 3 Pro Bowl starters and 2 Pro Bowl alternates. Like it's a really good offensive. Like he has
15 Pro Bowlers, by the way, combined between these 2 teams.
Oh, sorry. I thought 17 for the Eagles if you go include Pro Bowl and Pro Bowl
alternates. That's stupid.
What's a lot? I'm saying though.
I know, but we're talking about Pro Bowlers. Talking about players named to the Pro Bowl.
What 8? It's 8 for the Eagles.
8 and 7. That's what I'm saying. 15 combined Pro Bowlers between the 2 teams. Brian says Micah Parsons was right about Hurts. So saith BLG.
No, that's not what I said. I said that he has help. No one's saying Jalen Hurts doesn't have help. That is not something anyone is saying. I've said that Jalen Hurts has ideal conditions and he has maximized those things.
I think it's stupid, by the way, for people to like bag on Jalen for like playing on a very good team. Like that's the dumbest thing ever to me, to be like, well, who cares? Like what if he had no talent? Well, then they would not be as good. Like that's I don't think that Eagles fans aren't the only people who did this, but like people said the same thing about Dak. Well, he has an amazing a long time ago. He has an amazing offensive line. He has rookie Zeke. Like, oh man, blah blah. Yeah, turns out having good players around you makes you even better. Like, welcome to a team sport. What questions do you have for me and the Cowboys fans that are with us, Brandon, that we haven't already touched on throughout the week?
What's your biggest concern entering this game?
I mean, you kind of said it, the non-Trayvon Diggs starting corner for this team.
Okay, so besides that,
I'm very interested to see how Tyron Smith handles this Eagles pass rush. Right, like
I was going to say, I wanted to go to the defense because that's something probably we haven't talked about.
That's what even if let's say like I don't know, like say Kelvin Joseph ran with Devontae Smith like most of the game, and then like he shut him down. Right, he had like 2 targets, 1 catch for 6 yards. Like that would not make me feel good whatsoever because it's Gardner Minshew. Right, like you can't draw a legitimate comparison or a legitimate idea from that. By the way, we would love to hear your answers to Brandon's question if you're a Cowboys fan here. E says, how is your favorite Gatorade flavor melon, RJ?
Yeah,
I love
bad
melon.
Take.
It's so delicious. Take. It's so refreshing. That's why I like it.
Strawberry.
So but you agree, right? Like it's hard to draw anything from a defensive performance from the Cowboys from this game because of the quarterback. That is common sense. So where we can, kind of take something away from this in a legitimate sense is how the Cowboys offense performs against we had an article about this earlier today at the site. I think San Francisco is the best defense in the NFL. You can make an argument that Philly's number 2, Dallas is number 2, right? Like that's kind of been more of a revolving door. So how can the Cowboys handle this pass rush and Hassan Reddick and everybody, blah, blah, blah. Like, so how does Tyron Smith play if he does play more at right tackle this particular week? Like it's still really new to him. Like I'm very, very interested to see how he does.
Me as well. I know Brandon Graham specifically has kind of gotten Tyron's number, not like owned him, but there's a couple battles over the years where Brandon Graham has gotten his number. And
Left
Brandon Graham,
tackle, Tyron. He's gotten left tackle, Tyron. Very
well,
different
but
thing.
Brandon Graham, plays against the right tackle a lot now,
Well, it's
and I think
different
that's
technique for
interesting.
Tyron. So he's never faced this version of Tyron Smith.
Well, yes, but I think that could also work in this. And also, honestly, like the way Reddick is looking right now, and now he was killing Alex Leatherwood, who is not a good player, but like he was destroying him, dude. Like he could not be blocked. And Reddick has obviously been really good this season. Not impossible, not likely, I guess, at this point, but not impossible that Hassan Reddick could finish with more sacks than your boy Parsons, which would be funny because I just like said that as a throwaway.
So
thing.
now
Like,
you're bringing it back, even though you've acknowledged that it was silly that you said it as a throwaway.
I mean, it was like a throwaway comment.
Interesting.
But I'm saying, like, I don't. Well, in all seriousness, I don't think the gap is like ginormous. I mean, would I put Parsons over?
The
Hassan
gap
Reddick?
is
Of course.
absolutely ginormous between Micah Parsons and Hassan Reddick, and that's not a slight against Hassan Reddick. The gap is absolutely ginormous between the two.
You're
of them.
sleeping on Reddick a little bit, baby.
I think you're not acknowledging the when like he's been a little bit winded or whatever as of late, but Micah is one of the 5 best players in the NFL. I mean, Hassan isn't
really
in the
good right
top
now.
20. I mean, and that's not less slight against him.
Micah Parsons is not a top 5 player in the NFL right
He's
now.
absolutely a top 5 player.
No, he's not.
He is. Name 5 players better than Micah Parsons.
Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going in order.
I don't think Jalen makes that list. That is silly. I would
the MVP. He's arguably the MVP.
But some of that is like
Thanks,
the
Brian,
narrative.
by the way, in the chat.
Yeah, Brian did Venmo you apparently. Wow. So Tomasco Picarossi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, did RJ watch Micah against the Eagles earlier this year? Yeah. Did you watch Jalen against the Bears throw 2 interceptions? I mean, like, are we gonna cherry pick this way? Did we watch Justin Jefferson against the Eagles? You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, Brandon, you actually put your Venmo in the chat now. Kel says
someone asked for it.
Kel says BLG has got to be joking. If I had to come up with players that I like undeniable, I would definitely Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, maybe sometimes. I think we've gotten to a place where Josh Allen's become a little bit overrated, which again isn't a slight against him.
Who's overrating him? He's dropped in the MVP odds.
I think he escapes criticism, which I think is like a tentacle of being overrated. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't get criticized the way other players do. Kevin says Eagles are not going to be able to do what they did to Parsons without Hurts. I agree with that. Elizabeth says, "Oh, okay, it was cold in Chicago."
Who is from the Midwest in the Chicago area, by the way, so she's an expert.
I want to bring up what some people answered your question with, like what concerns are.
Besides the wide receiver.
Right. Kel says my biggest concern is will the silly and strange Dak interception streak continue? It's been weird. I mean, and like he deserves criticism and fault for a lot of them. But there have been these weird, like he thought there was an offsides. The ball was tipped off Noah Brown, right? Like, so will the weird luck work against him, or like will there be regression to the mean? You know what I'm saying? Like that is a fair worry to wonder, because that's how you win a game with Gardner Minshew. Not to take away from Gardner Minshew, right? Like that's how you win. That's how the Jaguars win this game. That's how you lose. That's how you blow 14 or 17 point leads, is you have stupid turnovers that give the other team short fields to work with.
Yeah, I mean, like my point on that. Okay, the game-losing interception isn't on him, but he's thrown a lot of picks. Now, you like to say that there's been bad luck in there. I'm sure there has to some extent, but you also have to look at the good luck he's gotten from drop-ins and stuff. I think some of that evens out, and I think the whole point is that I just don't think Dak is by any means like peak infallible form. Scared of this guy, it's like nothing we can throw at him was going to stop him. I'm expecting Dak to turn the ball over probably at least once in this game. Maybe not more than that, but probably at least once, because he's done it in every game he's played this year except for 2. It doesn't mean it works that way, but like I'm saying, the way he's playing, like a turnover is really not out of the question.
I don't think that's like a bold take though. Like, and maybe that's your point. Like, I mean, I think it's not ridiculous to expect any quarterback to turn the ball over once in an NFL game. I mean, especially when they're playing one of the better defenses in the NFL, like the Cowboys.
Hurts has barely done that this year. Like that's the thing. I feel like I trust him not to turn the ball over. With Dak,
But like,
I'm counting on we can get him once. We can get him at least once.
But there's regression to the mean with that stuff all the time. Like that, like, you know, that's why like Dak is due for regression as far as the like fluky interceptions are concerned. And that's why like your take about like not being afraid of Dak,
which
like,
has aged incredibly well.
Dak is by nature a polarizing player because of the team he plays.
Well, he's
for.
a quarterback.
Right. But like he's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Like that, there's an inherent polarizing quality to that. But this has been maybe the most polarizing season of his career in that he is either like absolutely dealing or he's made some critical mistake, or there has been some weird like stroke of poor luck that has worked against him. But like what's happening around, you know, the country or the world is people are picking one of these branches to lean on. Like, oh no, he's only the elite guy. Oh no, he's only the guy throwing these interceptions. No, he like it's a weird gazpacho. Am I using that correctly? I know I've butchered that before in the past.
You're thinking of gumbo. And
what
also,
is a gazpacho?
you're basically saying more than one thing can be true. Gazpacho is basically just cold soup.
Well, I'm talking about like a smorgasbord, right? Like something that features a variety of things.
I love a smorgasbord.
Right? So that's what I'm talking about.
It's a great. There's this place called the Shady Maple Smorgasbord, and out basically like I don't know, an hour or so west of Philly, and it's just great. They have like a big breakfast buffet. It's just great, and other things. They have a lunch buffet too, dinner options. I love it. Not a sponsor, but I love it.
2 questions. Diesel80, who's been a little bit critical of Dak in our chat in the past, says, as a Cowboys fan, I tend to agree with BLG about Dak. So put that one in your hat, Brandon. Sorry, I'm watching the Thursday night game behind you. Travis Etienne almost scored. I was telling you.
Hey, I want to talk about the run game, by the way, when you're done with the way
I know.
Saying.
Well, the comment literally says, but the Eagles can't stop the Cowboys run game. That will be the difference. 31-20, boys. Are you worried about Zeke Elliott and Pro Bowl running back Tony Pollard?
Wow. I mean, that's definitely one of the bigger concerns in the game, in part because so I like to like distinguish these things. The Eagles are not good at tackling. They just aren't. They've gotten better as the season has gone on. At one point, they were literally PFF's worst graded team at tackling, and that very much matched like
what
the
point
eye test.
Was that? Like when abouts?
Like around their bye, like 9, 10 weeks, 8, whatever around that in, and you can look at it on PFF's grading. It has since gotten better. And I think you can give the coaching staff some credit for that. Under Sirianni, the Eagles have had some very glaring weaknesses in his tenure, and typically they've kind of gotten better at those things. I remember penalties were a huge issue last year, and there was a game this year too. I think was it against the Steelers. I can't remember where like penalties were this huge issue, and they rectified it. It might have been against the Titans. Anyway, so like, but still, it's a weakness, and Tony Pollard is really good at making players miss. Zeke had his best game of the season against the Eagles earlier this year. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like I'm worried about them necessarily breaking, 90-yard runs as much as this kind of like being a constant grind, getting the Eagles defense into third and short situations. RJ, the Eagles are the best team in the league this year at generating third down sacks, and that's their formula. I mean, it sounds obvious, but like they want to get teams into third and long, and they want to, earn the right to rush the passer, so to speak. And they've been really good at doing that. So how do you avoid that? You get into third and manageable, like the Commanders did when they beat the Eagles. And I think that's the formula for a victory for the Cowboys.
I think that's well said. And I think obviously relying on the ground game is a big part of that. I think we'll see Zeke and Tony Pollard touch the ball a ton. That's just obviously, that's the formula here. You mentioned penalties, and I don't mean to like just pivot off of that, but this has been a storyline for the Cowboys for a long time, for about a year now, I guess, going back to the end of last season. Everybody talked about it. I don't know if you remember, the Cowboys were penalized like 1,000 times against the Niners in the playoff loss, and then Mike McCarthy and everybody complained, blah, blah, blah. They started off this season in a troubling sense. Beyond everything else that went poorly in week 1, they had 10 penalties. Do you know how many penalties the Cowboys had against the Eagles in week 6?
No.
10 penalties. So they had 13 against the Giants on Thanksgiving, and that was kind of like a whoa, now you're back to this kind of old way. But since then, 3 against the Colts, 3 against the Texans, 2 against the Jaguars. So they've really kind of stabilized it. That's like, you talk about like shooting yourself in the foot, whatever, blah, blah, like making the game or keeping the game close, third and manageable, blah, blah.
Biting yourself in the foot, as Dak would say.
So
it's not a real phrase.
Weird line. That's something that is a factor in this game, but they have kind of cleaned that up, the Cowboys have. And so I'm interested to see that. Like, how disciplined can you be against a really stout defense, a really stout offense, obviously independent of Gardner Minshew?
Are you worried about the Eagles run game? Because it seems like the Jags have had a weakness, the Jags were able to take advantage of a weakness there. And I know that's something you've been concerned about, and you talked about why the Cowboys, it was a good move to trade for Jonathan Hankins. Gets hurt. How big of a concern is that?
I mean, I'm really afraid of Miles Sanders when Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. Like I don't mean to like constantly like throw that out, right? Like, well, Jalen Hurts being out, blah blah blah, like because that's such a lame, kind of like air out the balloon thing. But I'm not as afraid of Miles Sanders without him. Which I talked about my fantasy team. I've got Miles Sanders going, so it's a tough scene for me. But I'm really not that like I'm like the running back that annoys me the most on the Eagles, like from a success standpoint, is Kenneth Gainwell. That's the one that it's like, how is it still happening? Like, how is this a thing still? So I'm definitely way more afraid of AJ Brown or Devontae Smith than I am the Eagles run.
Yeah.
This game.
No, I think you should be. I agree. But I wonder how that's going to look, because there was a lot of talk, about the Eagles didn't run enough, which I thought was silly because the Bears pass defense was bad. And also the Eagles ultimately had a lot of success moving the ball through the air. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith went off. But the run game's going to be a factor here. It's not like they don't trust Gardner to throw at all, but certainly your backup's in, you're probably going to run the ball maybe a little bit more than you might with your starter, just because you want to give him some help in theory.
Somebody asked me, like over under for total touches between Zeke and Pollard on Saturday. No. I would say like 40.5. That would be my number.
Well, it depends on game script. Yeah, I mean, if
right, but
down,
the question was like guessing that, what I'm saying. So like maybe that's a little.
And I would bang the under on that.
That's
I
would say
high.
like maybe like 33.5. That would be where I'd set it.
Okay, that's more reasonable.
Right. Stelios 300 Cowboys. Thank you for the super chat. Says BLG is definitely
on to something. Wow, great point by him. I am on to something.
So Nicholas. This is a non-NFC East question, but definitely an NFC East mixtape question.
Tough question.
BLG, you've taken responsibility for being so low on Hurts prior to the season. Do you have any regrets about being so high on Russell Wilson?
From a vibes perspective, yes. From a talent perspective, no. I mean, he still had a really good season last year. I remember looking it up, and his passer rating last year would have been like the 7th greatest Eagles quarterback season ever. So
that doesn't say a lot. Like that's like saying, well, it would have been the best Bears passer, rating of all time.
But you get the point. Like, I just think it was a little much to say he was cooked based on like.
Even if you thought he was cooked, there's no way anybody forecasted this.
I agree. And I also don't think I'm not going to bet on it, but I don't think it's impossible that maybe they get a new coach. Maybe there's like, a reflection this offseason being like he needs to kind of look in the mirror a little bit. I'm not saying that's like the likely outcome, but I don't think Russ is necessarily done 100%. He might be. I think it's more likely than not he is, but I'm also not ready to just write him off entirely.
I know that like the Broncos have taken a lot of heat for the Russ trade. Something I want to do an episode of the Look Ahead about in the offseason is like ranking the stupidness of the trades, because we've seen a lot of like poor trades. Like we saw last year, the Bears trade for Justin Fields. What was that pick for the Giants? Like 5th overall that first round pick became. I mean, they wound up with Justin Fields, so like right now they really don't care. But if you look at it, like the worst trade involving first round picks was who? Like there's a lot of debate as far as like who did the worst job. I think the Broncos, even though it blew up in their face, like it was sound. You know what I mean? Like it was sound logic. It was like you're trading for a franchise quarterback. Like the one that is the least sound is the Saints to me. Like what were you like in the best result? How was that going to help your team? Like it makes like what the Broncos did makes sense. It just didn't work.
What they were shooting for, yes. If it did work out, I mean, if Russ was not cooked, yeah, I mean they could win the division. They would be, or at least probably in position at the very least to get a wild card.
So first of all, Skylar says, what the hell? I didn't know there was a show today. It's my birthday, 33 years old, so make it extra special. Brandon, on the subject of making it special, Brian, you brought up Russell, or Russell was brought up. Brian says, RJ's Russ's impression coming in. Nathan asked if Russell Wilson was going to be on this stream. Mike just came out and said, do the Russ impression. And Nathan said, it's Russ time, RJ. Russ time feels like something Russell would say. Like
right before he's going to eat dinner too.
You know,
Like,
when
he
when
sits
I
down and
when
looks
I
at
eat
his plate.
dinner,
Interest.
I'm a believer that you have to feel your body every 4.3 hours because I pay my nutritionist about $1 million a year to work on this body because my body it's my temple and it's my home. You know, my home. I know there's that TikTok going around about the number of bathrooms in mine and Sierra's house. There's 12 bathrooms. Don't worry, and yeah, we've got bath mats for all of them. But you know, my home where I live, my space. Is my body, and so I make sure to fuel it. You know, you have to fuel. I sleep in a hyperbaric chamber. It's like, did you ever see Daredevil with Ben Affleck? The mechanism he sleeps in. It's just like that. And you know, I consider myself a bit of a daredevil. You know, yeah. You know, we'll be back next year though, guys. Broncos country. That's right.
I have a couple Christmas poems to get to here, RJ.
We'll get there. Mike says, LMAO, it's also my 33rd birthday today. And my twins too, technically. So this is a pretty important day, December 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Carson wants his birthday tomorrow.
Brian gave me 5 points. You mentioned this. Your dad, by the way, said happy birthday to Mike. And Fernet asked if your dad was your dad. It is your dad.
He is my dad. My dad is my dad.
So you said you were sent 2 poems. One about the division, one about the mixtape. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So why are you confused? You've read them. You would seemingly know the answer to this.
Well, I don't know about the division. One is about like Eagles Cowboys, I would say.
Okay.
More specifically. And then another one is about kind of more like the mixtape. I mean, with Eagles Cowboys mixed in, but you know.
Do that one second. Do the teams one first.
All right, so
give us a voice, like it's Christmas time.
Well, obviously, I'm going to do that, RJ. This comes from user Kenneth Ed on Reddit, the Eagles subreddit. He is on Twitter at Kenneth Ed. Sorry if I don't mean to dox you, but your name is on there, so I'm including it. And these are not short, so bear with me. The first one called "A Visit from Saint Kelsey."
Kelsey.
Are you gonna let me do it?
Well, you have to specify, So okay, go ahead.
'Twas the night before game day, and all throughout Dallas, the kids knew the Eagles would storm Jerry's palace. Stripper stockings were hung in his luxury suite, where he'd soon watch the cows get their punk butts beat. The Cowboys were sweating while tucked in their beds, with nightmares of the Bears' next TD in their heads. Zeke counting his plums during each Pollard snap, settled in with McCarthy to watch Garrett clap. When out on the field, there rose such a quake. Jerry dropped his McGriddle and salted his shake. Down to the sideline he raced in a jiffy, though his sodium levels were medically iffy. The glow of the moon on the freshly cut grass gave the luster of game time, despite nary a pass. Then what to his surgically altered eyes should appear but a Kelly Green sleigh and 8 guys drinking beer. With a 300-pound driver so bearded and healthy, he knew in an instant it must be St. Kelsey. The Philadelphia Eagles, they flew in formation. Jason yelled to the best friggin' team in the nation. Now AJ, now Smitty, now Sanders, now Jordan, on Brandon, on Johnson, on Goddard, and Jalen. To the back of the end zone on a 4th and 1 call. Now do it each time that we touch the damn ball. As rowdy fans that before the first quarter do drink and yell at the ref because his holding calls stink. So up to the nosebleeds, the players, they flew with a 13-1 record, and Coach Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling, Jerry's courage was fleeting on the heels of another Doug Peterson beating. As he sputtered and spoke, barely turning around, down the concourse, St. Kelsey came with a bound. He was dressed like a mummer, smelled of whiskey and meat, and he strut like a guy who came straight from South Street. A Super Bowl trophy he waved in Jones' face as he cheerfully stomped on old Jer's sacred space. Almost done. His eyes, how they glinted, his dimples, how scary, because this ain't the 90s. It's our world now, Jerry. The beard on his chin was made for a party while the Eagles take aim at another Lombardi. The sad fall of Wentz getting small in the mirror as MVP Jalen Hurts crushes this year. Kelsey had a bold laugh and swift downfield block as he readied his speech for the post-parade talk. He was charming and funny, a true Christmas tune peddler, and Jerry hated himself for being a meddler. But a wink of his eye on the very next play made Jer realized the Eagles would still roast his nuts anyway, and putting a foot to the back of his rump, Kelsey booted the owner like something that happened in the presidential election of 2020. He spoke not a word, but pointed to Maui, where he often vacationed with Hanukkah Howie. Then turning the tables like a Dak interception, he was off faster than Gerald could lose something. He sprang to his sleigh, Jerry still in a coma, now on to the playoffs, last stop, Arizona. But Jerry heard him exclaim as he took to the sky, "Merry Christmas, F Dallas, and fly Eagles fly." So long.
That was really, 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 really well done.
I feel like
I really was bothered by a lot of it, but I mean, like, as far as cleverness and creativity, it was really, really good.
Yes, I give an effort as an A+. I censored some of it. Obviously, I didn't want to drop some curse words here on the old stream. It's dangerous. So I've read these, but it's dangerous to kind of sometimes just read things you're reading and like seeing what's coming ahead and be like, oh, I don't know if I want to say that on the thing.
Yeah, and you also don't want to like Ron Burgundy yourself, like accidentally just like
whatever. Right, exactly.
Wow, that was well done. I have one final question for us to kind of answer and flesh out that I think everybody will enjoy. But I don't. E is asking me what my sign is.
I'm laughing.
I don't know.
Your astrology sign, my friend.
Oh, Libra, I think.
Yeah, because you're also October.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not into that, but I mean, maybe it's gonna look something up. I don't know. I'm curious. Okay, let's hear the one that's more related to the mixtape, right?
Okay, yeah, sorry. That is in my DMs. This one was like a link I had to click on. Now I have this. This is from our friend Chris Winters at Winters, Vermont. I'm looking for. Do you want me to read the message? Because you sent a little bit of a message too.
I mean, it's kind of up to you at this point. This is your thing. So
I spent way too much time on this ridiculous poem based on "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" and the NFC East Mixtape. It's probably too long, but thought it'd be fun for you and RJ to do a dramatic reading on Thursday, so on and so forth. Thank you, Chris. He also said, "P.S. I know you are taller than 6'2". I tried to make to work in a few running gags that the mixologist might appreciate. Thank you, Chris."
Brandon is 6'5". Just so everybody's clear,
6'9",
his exact height.
6'5". And my dad will back me up in the comments. Anyway, all right. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all across the land, birds and boys fans were stirring with beverages in hand. 'Cause it's Dallas week in Philly, and a silly week in Dallas. Forget holiday cheer, even though that seems callous. Lucky jerseys were hung by the flat screen with care, in the hopes that the number 1 seed would soon be theirs. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of playoff wins danced in their heads. RJ in his kerchief and BLG in his cap had just settled down, hoping for a game that's not crap. When up on the screen there arose such a clatter, they both sprang from their couches to see what was the matter. Away to the remote they flew with a flash, turned up the volume, and then noticed a mustache. When what to their wandering eyes should appear but a miniature QB with a hair-covered sneer, with a cute little headband and his helmet askew, we knew in a moment it must be St. Minshew. As rapid as eagles, his linemen they came, and he whistled and he shouted and he called them by name. On Isaac, on Jordan, on Lane, and on Jason, on Sanders, on Goddard, on AJ, and Landon. To the top of the league, to the top of the East. Now dash away, smash away, like an NFC beast.
Oh!
So I'm not done. So down to Jerry's world, the coursers they flew with a plane full of victories, and St. Minshew too. On the sidelines was Dylan, the true MVP, with a nod and a smile, proving hard work is key. Looking out at St. Minshew and cheering him on. Let's go show them Cowboys how hard games are won. We're well on our way to a bowl that is super. We won't use an excuse like y'all did with Cooper. Up in the skybox, we see a shot of Jerry like some old wrinkled elf who was quite frankly scary. He was dressed in a suit from his head to his shoes, fooling fans once again with a team that will lose. With 3 playoff wins in the last 25 seasons, Jarrett looks in the mirror and says, I ain't the reason. A bundle of players he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler claiming just opening his pack. Best defense in football. Besides, we've got Dak. And don't need Amari, because Micah gets sacks. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses. His nose like a cherry. And Diggs will get picks. Check out our O-line. There's no reason to trade. It's all going to be fine. His droll little mouth was drawn up in a bow, and the lines on the field were as white as the snow. Up north in Philly, the mood was intense, where Hurts' injured shoulder reminded us of Wentz. BLG was stress eating, his team in bad shape, bragging rights on the line for the next big mixtape. The crust of a pizza he held tight in his teeth, and the aroma of wings encircled his head like a wreath. RJ in Texas was panicked and nervous. We can't lose to this team with their QB out of service. Back on the field, and there are the coaches, St. Mike and St. Nick, with their different approaches. McCarthy has a broad face and a round little belly that shakes while he paces like a bowl full of jelly. He was walking so fast, a right jolly old elf, that BLG laughed when he saw him in spite of himself. It was ha 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 instead of ho 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 with his 6'2" frame. I'm actually 6'9". Really enjoying the show. And RJ laughed too, his mood turning brighter as he noticed Sirianni's red and green highlighters. I'm in their heads rent free, he thought to himself as he dusted the Aikman figurine on his Super Bowl quote shelf. How this big game will end, there is no telling. May your stockings be filled with jerky from righteous felon.
Oh!
And no matter the outcome, cutting through all the noise, through the decades of hate between the birds and the boys, we can unite around football and spread some holiday joy. Philly fans are obnoxious, and Dallas sucks too. But as we all know, both things can be true. Here's a prediction while we're talking trash. 31-30 Birds, led by the Mississippi mustache. Miles goes off, and Tony and Zeke have their way. But Dallas beats Dallas in more ways than one Saturday. St. Minshew will exclaims as he runs out of sight. Number 1 seed is ours. Y'all have a good night. And then Jalen remarks with calm and great poise, a bleeding green Christmas to all, and happy blogging the boys.
Wow. Well done.
Really
That was really great. That
great
was
job by both of our
super
people
well thought out and meaningful. And wow, the righteous felon plug.
Yeah, they got it all.
Multiple things can be true.
Honestly, both of them were very good. I appreciate the effort. And just like, we didn't even prompt this, to be clear. And I said to you, RJ, when we were messaging about doing the show, I'm like, and you even asked, you were like, did we prompt this? I was like, no.
Yeah,
it's unsolicited.
You slacked me and you said I have 2 poems, and so like it seemed like there was like a common denominator, and I couldn't remember. I was like, did we ask? We asked for weird things a lot, but I was like, did we ask for poems? So we didn't, and they were both inspired by the same poem technically. So like kind of a chalk Christmas thing to like do a poem based off of that one, but like these are really 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 well done in really different ways. If I have to pick one that was better, it was the second one. If I'm being honest.
Just taking shots. I like the one they did pander to us more with the specific mixtape references.
Wow. I cracked this open when you brought up the beverages. Shine or Cheer, not an ad, but a very topical brew for this time of year. That I feel like we're always rhyming now. It's like because those are really long. So like, I feel like everything we're saying is it's just like said in the tone of it all. Wow. That was awesome. By the way, Diesel80 asks if you know that I haven't seen Christmas Vacation. I said that at the very beginning of this. So yeah, I haven't seen the movie. Okay. As I get ready with my Shine or Cheer. Last question for both of us. So do you want to go first or me go first?
You can go first.
The question is, how will either of us feel if the Cowboys or Eagles lose on Saturday, right? So that we got to say it now, so we can't run from it or hide from it the way that you like to do. You know what I mean? Like after the fact. So we say this now. So if we're like, oh, I'll be devastated, it'll be the worst day of all time, you can't come out and like reverse cope and be like, oh, nah, really not that big of a deal. Like we'll just pick up the 1 seed next week, whatever, blah blah. So you want me to go first?
Yeah.
If the Cowboys lose, even though like context would matter, like context would dial up the intensity a little bit if like the Cowboys got blown out, it will be frustrating because this should be an opportunity for them to flex. And I say flex, but this should be an opportunity for them to get right. It is, I had an article go out while we were on at Belong on the Boys. This is in all likelihood the last home game of the season for the Cowboys. They have 2 road games left in the regular season. I know that it's possible they're going to be the wild card team. They're not going to win the division. So unless, other wild cards win and they maybe host a divisional game or the NFC Championship, there's a lot of ifs in there. This is the last home game. So you got to get up, home game, Christmas Eve, Eagles, no Jalen Hurts, put them in their place. And if they don't, it will feed the panic that Cowboys fans have had all week. If they don't lose, and particularly if they do it in that way, right? Like if Dak throws picks, if they can't stop Miles Sanders, if Kelvin Joseph gets destroyed, if all those like strings of insecurity are pulled at, People will be like, same old, same old. 2 weeks from now, they're just going to get bounced in the wild card round. It will be concerning if they lose.
Yeah, it should be to a backup quarterback with the 1 seed on the line. Yeah. What's the question exactly? Like, what's my concern level?
Yeah, like, what's your concern? How would you feel? Would you panic? Would you be sad? Would you be mad? Like,
it would be a bummer, but it wouldn't be like,
Well, then like explain what the bummer would be, so we can know how you will feel. What your emotions?
It's Christmas Eve. It's going to be like, oh man, I have to watch the Cowboys win. Not great, but it would also be a very quick flip to the next week. It's like, okay, well now we have to win. It's like now probably Jalen has to come back. He has to play week 17. Have to beat the Saints. Have to finish it out here. Have to beat them to make that draft pick they owe to the Eagles even better. Like there's all the reasons. So I think it immediately flips. This is the real answer. It's not going to linger. It's going to hurt in the moment, but it would also flip very quickly to be like, let's wrap this up now. And also, yeah, the panic level would raise a little bit because it's like, okay, you lost. That's fine because you still have 2 games to get it, but that's 1 fewer game. So like, let's not mess around here. Let's get it. And then if for some reason they would lose to the Saints, then the concern level is that ramps up to like an 8 out of 10. Like
only if the Cowboys won on Thursday night. Because to be clear, if the even if the Cowboys beat the Eagles and then the Cowboys lost to the Titans, boom, 1 seed Philly. And not even 1 seed division, depending on Minnesota. You get my point.
Yeah, unless there's and there's all. I kind of want the tie to happen. The only time I will root for
the Cowboys-Eagles tie is what you're saying,
because it'd be just very. It'd be very funny to me. Like
I want to. What BLG's talking about is if the Vikings win on Sunday against the Giants, and then the Cowboys and Eagles tie. Correct me if I'm wrong. Philly clinches the division, but not the 1 seed.
Well, yeah, but I'm not rooting for that. I would root for the Vikings to either lose or tie, and then the Eagles to clinch everything with a tie. That would just be very funny to be. I want to like be able to go through a simulator and see what that looks like, that world. Because I want to. It'd just be very weird. You know what I mean? It'd be a very weird like to see everyone after because what happens when what to expect when a team like wins or loses. You see all the players run out, and what would happen? Like because they just clinched the 1 seed, but it would be a tie. So like I guess they're gonna run out and celebrate, but it's probably is it more muted? They're kind of just like politely shaking everyone's hands. They're like, good win. I mean, good tie by us. Good tie.
Fournette, who wrote the poem, the first one, by the way, everybody give a round of applause to Fournette, says the best thing by far is even if something goes wrong and it won't, we still have 52, the best Super Bowl of all time. I was told living in the past was lame by Eagles fans. That like, you don't look in the past. You don't celebrate wins from the past. That's stupid. You don't do that. So it's funny how that works now, for Eagles fans. It's interesting.
Like 5 years ago.
If the Eagles lose this game, so like what is the panic? You mentioned like panic raises. Wow, there's a U.S. men's national team jersey at this Jets Jaguars game. I did not expect to see that there. But
10-point lead. Jags are gonna win the AFC South, baby.
I agree with you. But so like the panic meter 1 to 10 is what for the Eagles Saints game right now, and it goes to what with a loss and a Cowboys win next Thursday.
I mean, it's a 0 out of 10 right now because, it might not mean anything. So
it goes to like a 5, maybe.
I mean, if the Cowboys win, Eagles lose, no, more like a 3 out of 10.
Okay.
And it depends how they lose too. If they get like blown out, okay, that's kind of concerning because again, they still have a good enough of other players on the team that they should not get like destroyed. The quarterback, unless Minshew just throws like 5 picks, but the quarterback shouldn't be the only difference here.
Kevin says it is kind of cold outside. The Arctic blast making its way down south right now. So everybody bundle up. We hope everybody is safe.
Well, maybe Kevin's in the icebox.
We haven't done that in a long time. We really need to. Tomorrow we're doing the icebox. Well, Stats is going to put somebody in the icebox when he picks the Cowboys or Eagles.
True. Wow. Unless he predicts a tie.
Well, then we would all be in the icebox.
True.
All right, Brandon. Final thoughts. I don't know if we'll do another live mixtape this season. Obviously, if the Cowboys and Eagles meet in the divisional round, we'll have to do it.
There's a good chance that's going to happen.
Let's say this now. This is my for real last question. If that happens, will that be the longest week of your life because of what the consequence would be if the Eagles lost?
I mean, I'm not really worried about them losing.
Okay, so this is who Eagles fans are now, by the way.
They're 13-1. They've lost 1 game all year. They look great.
But to say that you're not worried about them losing a playoff game is ridiculous. It's silly.
It's going to be at home too. I'm not saying they can't lose it, but I'm not going into the game feeling nervous. I feel good about it.
Let me ask point blank. If the Eagles lost in the divisional round after having the bye, to the Cowboys. Would
Yeah.
that be the worst Eagles loss of your lifetime?
It'd be, I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, it would be one of the worst ones because it's, you don't go whatever they're going to finish and you don't start 13-1 to lose in the divisional round at home. You just don't do that. It's
Believe
not
me,
good enough.
Believe me, it's not a fun feeling.
I don't know even what that would feel like. And I'm sure, you would hate being in that situation if it happened to the Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's such a weird dichotomy because for both teams, the Cowboys and Eagles, like everybody's like, yeah, I want to do that because I want to win because that would be the sweetest win of all time, right? Or not all time, but you know what I mean? It would be so euphoric to win that game, but it would be a worse than usual playoff loss for either team in that situation. Kevin says there is seriously a chance that the whole NFC East is playing in the second round of the playoffs. If that happens, by the way, your final four in the NFC is the NFC Beast. So, wow.
Copyright.
All right.
Shout out to Patrick who said the episode wasn't long enough.
Patrick, where did he say that? This wasn't long enough. I wanted to hang with you guys all night. Merry Christmas, guys, and may BLG forever reign. What is the story? What is the genesis of the forever reign thing?
Kist and Solak just used to say that for some reason. Back when they were doing BGN radio stuff. You said Kiss is stupid? I'm gonna clip that and send it to him.
Kiss, I told Kiss to get me into F1, and his exact response was he suggested I go watch his TikToks.
No.
And I was like,
I'm not doing that. Sorry, Kist, but
wow.
I can't do that. I don't know how much people have time for all this stuff. I can't add another thing. I'm already maxed out. I can't do more.
I agree. I agree. Wow. If people want us to start a Survivor podcast, we're open to that idea as well, by the way.
I don't know.
Cassidy was robbed.
No. I wanted her to win because I would have won $80 or so if she did, but I was not I didn't feel like I got robbed.
All right.
Spoiler alert for Survivor.
As we leave, I would like you to give us 3 things that are awesome about Christmas.
My mom.
Shout out Mrs. G.
Who it's also her birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mrs. G. Wow, what a great day. December 22nd. Wow.
No, on Christmas itself.
Your mom's birthday is Christmas? Whoa.
Yeah, that's right.
That is super cool.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because sometimes you have a birthday and Christmas, you don't get like the true birthday experience. You know what I mean? Because everyone just kind of overlooks.
Do you do the Mom, this is, I don't want to put you in a tough spot here, but do you do this is for your birthday and Christmas? Or do you do this is your birthday?
I make a big effort to say happy birthday, Mom, before any kind of Christmas stuff. So, want my mom to have a special day.
Okay.
I love my mom. So my mom, definitely, I'll put my dad up there. And then I will put my great support system of friends, which I'll put you in there, RJ, and, E, who's listening to this, and Holden, and Zach and Josh and Abby and Jess and everyone else who I can't mention because I mentioned everyone. I'm going to leave someone out, but and Patrick, great support system of friends. James, I'm just saying names now, but yeah.
No love for Stats. Interesting.
Stats. Tell him. Stats doesn't want to be in there. I don't think he wants to be in there. Not that he dislikes me, but I think he wants to be a comfortable arm's length distance away.
That's true. I know for a fact that E thinks that Cassidy should have won Survivor as well. I'm going to guess that.
Wow.
All right.
You know for a fact that you're guessing something?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the logic.
What's your 3 things?
3 things that I like about Christmas.
The listeners count, by the way. The listeners are grouped in.
Yeah, the listeners are obviously implied and understood. I like this is really chalk and cliche, but the lights. I like the magic of it. It's different. You know what I mean? It's there is I always think about Mrs. McAllister saying the season of perpetual hope. There is something you everything feels more possible. You know what I mean? So the majesty of it all. I like the connective tissue that comes around with it. There's just something you're tighter with people. You're talking.
Everyone's
to people more
happier.
Often. Yeah, it's a good time, good vibe. The last one is very, very particular to me. I posted something about this on my Instagram. My wife and I took our son to see Santa Claus today. And that was really cool. Yeah, it was really awesome. He is 1 year old, but you know this.
He's older than that.
He's 13 months now.
He's like timeless.
But that's what I'm saying. Like
Santa
to that point, Santa, yeah. So, my son was born the night before Thanksgiving last year, and he spent the first 2 months of his life in the NICU. And so our whole holiday season last year was in the NICU. And I really have thought a lot about families who are in different spots or different situations this year, just because of how challenging that was. And so to see Christmas through his eyes and through his lens and the lens of parenthood and fatherhood and, you know, with my wife and everything, see him on Santa's lap. Those days felt so far away last year. And so that is forever a part of my Christmas that I love. So, and I love you, Brandon. I love our NFC East Mixtape family. What a good time. Like, who doesn't love this? You know what I mean? Who doesn't love this? So
yeah, it's good.
Good thing the Cowboys are going to smoke the Eagles on Sunday. So Saturday, crap. Yeah. All right, score prediction. I guess we've done last thing like 5 times. So
Eagles. Well, people are enjoying it. It's not like the chat is fizzling out. Chat's going strong. I'm going to say Eagles 28, Cowboys 27, 1-point game, and it comes down to the final drive of the game, and the Eagles go for 2 to win the game.
So you think the 28 is not just 4 chalk touchdowns?
No.
Yeah, because they would have 20 points at that point if they went for 2. You know what I'm saying? And got 28.
Huh?
I'm saying, like, you think they have 28 points, but it's not 4 chalk touchdowns extra points.
Well, yeah, it can't be if I said they're going to go for 2.
That's what I was confirming with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They go for 2 to win the game, and Minshew himself runs it in.
Cowboys 33, Eagles 16.
Oh, come on. You don't even believe that.
I do.
No, you don't. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. More exciting to watch the Cowboys lose than it is the Eagles win sometimes.
Oh, my
God.
God.
It's true.
The obsession that Eagles fans